President William Ruto left the country on Sunday, 19th May, for a 4-day state visit in the US. A historic milestone, considering that for the last 2 decades we've not had a head of state doing such a visit. And the last time when an African head of state had such a visit was in 2008. Now, deals were signed. If they will be actualized, that remains to be a matter of wait and see. But for now, we want to look at the significance of that visit. And to give us more insights on that is Dr. Dan Noel Odaba. Dr. Dan Noel Odaba is an accomplished academic and practitioner in the fields of international relations, diplomacy, peace and conflict resolution, disaster risk management, and international development. With over 18 years of teaching experience at various universities in Kenya, Dr. Odaba has conducted extensive research and presented findings at international conferences. As a visiting scholar, consultant, trainer, and advisor, he has collaborated with prestigious institutions like the African Union, IGAD, UN agencies, NGOs, and government bodies. He serves as a non-executive director at the Institute for Economics and Peace Africa office, a global think tank dedicated to create a paradigm shift on how the world thinks about peace. Thank you so much, Dr. Odaba, for your time. Impressive profile, I must say. Now, on Current Focus this week, we are looking at President William Ruto's US state visit. What do you make of that visit, by the way?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on this show. And first, this visit has been much hyped. We all know it has been much hyped. There's a lot of intrigues that have gone on in this trip, and it's very important that the world knows that our country, Kenya, is a very important country when it comes to strategic relationship with the other foreign nations like the US, not just the US and other countries. So Kenya is a very important country in Africa in terms of strategic partnerships. So our president's visit to the US has been hyped and is very important. And also it signifies the importance of bilateral relations between Kenya and the US.
A follow-up question there. How is this visit going to affect or influence US foreign policy in Kenya?
Foreign policy simply means a document that spearheads the interests of a country. Whether you're going to have bilateral relations with a specific country, we have to advance. That's why you have ambassadors and diplomats out there, to advance our interests, to market Kenya, to make sure that we also, we have what we call, in diplomacy, we have what we call a win-win situation. We don't need to have a situation whereby you're winning and losing. We have to have a win-win situation. The US also has its own foreign policy. It also has interest in Kenya. So what are the interests of the US policy US foreign policy in Kenya? They also have interests. At the end of the day, we call it a win-win situation. We have what we call, in this negotiation, in diplomacy we have what we call negotiation and mediation. So when you negotiate deals, they must be deals that everybody is a winner.
From your assessment or from where you sit, what's the end game of this visit?
The most important thing, you need to look at the geopolitics of Africa today. We have the war in Ukraine, we have the Russian influence, and most importantly, the Chinese influence in Africa, and more so in Kenya. The US cannot just sit back and watch Kenya looking the east. Since independence, we have always been a very key ally. It's just, I'll give you an example. You have this girlfriend of yours that you're always together. Then someone else comes, now your attention is moving. You cannot just sit back and watch that attention go away. So you have to do something to get back your attention. So that's what's happening.
Now, for a very long time, we know that Kenya has been facing east, so to speak, especially when it comes to infrastructural development. And to be very specific, Kenya has been very close with China. What should we expect from some of these countries now that we had President William Ruto, facing west, so to speak?
Of course, they're not going to just keep quiet. They also have to counter. They're going to see, what is this person has been given? What can we offer better to also strengthen our relationship with them? They're not just going to sit down. Watch this space. In very coming years, you're going to see China coming in with also issues to strengthen the relationship between Kenya and China or Russia for that sake. So watch this space. They're not just going to sit down and watch this happen.
We saw a number of deals signed from education sector, in the medical field and all that. But it's one thing to sign the deals and another thing to implement or actualize these deals. Are you optimistic about the signings that were made?
There must be political goodwill. Those deals must also be anchored in the Constitution. They cannot be done outside the Kenyan Constitution. They cannot be done illegally. So there has to be, someone will go to court and say, no, this is not right. They agreed to do ABCD. Like, for example, the issue of sending the forces to Haiti. There are so many cases, people went to court, and the court says it's illegal because it's not in the framework. So the parliament has to enact laws. I'll give you one example. In 2007, 2008, when we had the post-election violence, there was a national accord that was signed on 28th of February 2008. This national accord had to make sure that we have a government of a coalition government whereby we had a prime minister. It was not in the constitution. So what happened? The people had to go back to the parliament to enact a law to enshrine, to make sure that the national accord is enacted in the constitution. So if these deals are signed and they are not in tandem with our constitution, someone will go to court and challenge them. So they must make sure that all those things, they are actualized as per the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Let's talk about the mission in Haiti, a very sensitive issue. The elephant in the room, I must say, as Kenya plans to send security troops to Haiti. What's your take on this issue? Let's start from there.
This move is very crucial. Remember, historically, Kenya has been involved in peacekeeping missions in Kosovo, in Timor-Leste, in Sierra Leone, in Congo. They send a part of the UN missions or African Union mission, but also we have what you call the component of police who also are involved in peacekeeping missions. So it's not the first time, but pundits out there will say, oh, we're not prepared, we have conflict, we have our own issues internally in the rift, we don't have capacity. I can tell you for free. Yeah, I'm not a military expert, but Kenya has the capability. They have capability of taming those gangs. And the other thing is that most Kenyans don't understand that even though we have our own internal conflicts in the Kerio Valley, those banditry areas, that's a different scenario.
As an expert, when it comes to conflict resolution and peace studies as well, what would be the long-lasting solution in Haiti? Because you've seen a situation whereby people have different opinions, and we've seen that US is sitting on the fence, so to speak.
Have you ever asked yourself one question? Why is it that America is leading the best country with militarily and all the weaponry, etc.? Why is it not leading to tame of those? Because they want to be seen that they have interest in the resources in Haiti. You get? Someone will say that they have interest. They want to take care of the interests of the resources in Haiti. But that's not the story. So they don't want to be seen to be having this kind of interest. So they have to look for other people who are willing. And Kenya is willing and able and has the capacity and the capability with men and women who are able to take care of that violence in Port-au-Prince and Haiti in general. The world needs to adopt a positive peace framework. A positive peace framework involves of three elements of attitudes, institutions, and structures that creates a sustainable and peaceful society. What do you mean about a positive peace framework? It's a 8 pillars of positive peace that when they are implemented, like for example, having a well-functioning government, pillar number 1, having a well-functioning government. A well-functioning government will be free of corruption, will have free flow of information, will have respect of rights of others, will have good relations with neighbors, will have sound business environment whereby policies are anchored laws are made whereby investors are going to come in, because it's very easy for investors to come to invest. They create employment, the sound business environment, and all this is going to have what you call a cohesive and peaceful and sustainable society.
Thank you so much, Dr. Odaba, for your time. Really appreciated. Now, we've been looking at the significance of President William Ruto's state visit in the US, and they say that when America sneezes, the entire world gets a flu. Well, you've been watching The Current Focus with me, Elijah Mwangi. See you next time, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can always keep you informed. Goodbye for now.